Hello, my name is Luca Dell'Anna, and today I wanted to talk about the terrible miscommunication and misinformation that took place during the COVID pandemic. In particular, many institutions botched their communication and destroyed the trust the public had in them. So, in this video, I wanted to share 14 do's and don'ts for institutional communication to better communicate to the population and to better keep the trust that the population has in the institution. The first don't is do not appeal to the in-group. A lot of institutional communication, especially during 2020 and 2021, used polarizing language that appealed to those who were already aligned with what was asked of the population and instead angered those it was supposed to convince. This type of communication is useless at best and damaging at worst. Instead, do appeal to the out-group. A better alternative is to speak to those who are not aligned with the institution yet, addressing their concerns instead of ignoring them. Another don't is do not use the words trust us. Only institutions with a long track record of trustworthiness can use the words trust us effectively. In all other cases, their use will backfire. Institutions that are at least partially distrusted should instead use other arguments to achieve buy-in. Similarly, do not dismiss difficult questions. For example, in early 2021, the public had questions about the safety of vaccines. Some governments did not take those concerns seriously and either ignored them or used dismissive replies such as, "They are safe, trust us." Not only does this behavior destroy trust, but the public has questions, and if institutions do not answer them, the public will believe whatever charlatan does answer those questions. Instead, do earn trust by answering difficult questions. Institutions can and should build trust by answering difficult questions. They can proactively ask the public what concerns they have, listen without interrupting, and then answer the concerns without dismissing them. Another mistake is do not write for scientists. Some institutions use overly technical language or assume that the general population knows the reasoning behind the proposed policies. This severely limits the effectiveness of the message. Instead, do write for common people. Write in the simplest language possible, explaining your assumptions and reasonings, all the while without feeling patronizing. Do not order unless truly necessary. People do not like being ordered to do things, especially if they are not explained first why, and especially if they do not trust the person or institution ordering them. Instead, do explain. Instead of ordering the population to do something, or at least before ordering them to do something, explain what they should do and why it matters. If what you ask of them is hard, proactively address those difficulties without dismissing them, and offer solutions or explain why you believe that what you ask of them is worth doing despite the cost of doing so. Another important don't is do not exaggerate. In 2021, American President Joe Biden said, "If you are vaccinated, you will not get COVID-19. This was an exaggeration. While it is true that COVID vaccines do help reduce the likelihood of severe outcomes from an infection, they certainly do not prevent infections fully. Exaggerating should always be avoided. It destroys public trust and gives easy openings to charlatans to peddle even worse claims. Another don't is do not say things which might turn out to be incorrect. For example, in March 2020, the WHO tweeted, "Fact: COVID-19 is not airborne." Not only do we know now that this tweet was factually wrong, COVID is in fact airborne. But more importantly, we could have known even then that the tweet was wrong. That's because there was no certainty that COVID was not airborne. So, never say things which might be incorrect, and especially do not present them as facts. Because once people realize that an institution said something incorrect, they will not trust it anymore in the future. Instead, do use nuance when necessary. For example, do masks work? While the answer yes is technically correct, in the sense that they do reduce the chances of infection, such an answer is also prone to be misunderstood. For example, it might invite remarks such as, "If masks work, why did I get infected even if I wore one?" Or, "If masks work, I will be safe even with a cloth mask." Instead, a better approach is to use nuance when required. For example, an institution could say that face masks reduce the risk of infection significantly but not fully. N95 masks reduce it more than N95 ones. N95 masks reduce it more than surgical one, surgical masks more than cloth one, and even cloth masks have very little effect but still more than no mask. And depending on the risk of the situation, different masks might be required, and you should always strive to wear the highest grade mask possible. So this was an example of keeping things simple but without oversimplifying, and using nuance to convey information that is truthful. And then a final don't is, do not treat people like children. Treating people like children, for example patronizing them, yields childlike behavior. Instead, do treat people like adults. Acknowledge that the people you address have complex, busy lives and real concerns. Do not expect 100% compliance on everything you ask of them. Respect them, prioritize your asks, and avoid unnecessary waste of their time and energy. So that was it from my side today. We have seen 14 do's and don'ts of institutional communication. You can find the information contained in this video in written form on the website pandemic-questions.com, which also contains some visually attractive flyers you can share with your friends and colleagues. Thank you very much.